Hello, everybody. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere. I am live and loving it tonight. Welcome to Sunday Night Live, where I equip you to thrive in change. The changes you wanted, that you just knew you needed, that job that you pursued with all of your heart, and then it turned out that it stunk and you hated it. Those kind of changes, the changes that we wanted, that we love, the changes that we didn't ask for that hit us anyway, like pandemics or fender benders. No matter what kind of change you're finding yourself in tonight, I want you to know that you can thrive in the midst of it. And when I say thrive, I mean that even when your leaves aren't in bloom, your roots are still being nourished, okay? And tonight, we are going to focus on the Thrive Principle, hashtag find the beauty, because that is one of the keys. One of the keys to being able to thrive and change is having an ability, no matter what circumstances we're in, to find the beauty. Not pretend that nothing bad's happening. That's not going to help you thrive at all. But to acknowledge that, yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff, challenging stuff happening, and there's also beauty. That's going to really create a powerful, powerful platform for you to launch and grow. So, welcome. Thank you, everybody who's jumping on. I encourage you to drop something in the comments, because when you drop things in the comments, Tammy Beck is here, Pam is here, yay! I love to see that, and we have a special guest, as you can see, Jewaun. He's sitting there looking so cool. You definitely are up leveling Sunday Night Live, my friend.
Okay.
You definitely are. I want to thank Thumb Roast Coffee for sponsoring Sunday Night Live. And if you're a devoted coffee drinker, as I am, you can go order online the best coffee you've ever had for 15% off when you use the coupon code THRIVE. And all you have to do is go to thumbroastcoffee.com, type in THRIVE to get that 15% discount, and you are going to love that coffee. It is just about the only coffee I drink. I only drink other stuff if I'm somewhere else where I can't get it. So that's how committed I am. So it's good stuff. And I want to thank Thumb Roast Coffee for being such a great sponsor for Sunday Night Live. It helps me to get high quality broadcasting to you. So thank you, Thumb Roast Coffee. All right, let me see. One more announcement for those of you who are leaders. And I want to remind you what leadership is. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So if you are a leader, meaning if you want to influence your world or influence other people's world, whether it's at work or at home, on the PTA, at church, if you want to be a leader who is inspired, confident, and effective, I've got a great fun opportunity for you. It's called the Livestream Leadership Program, and I am just launching it. In fact, it's not quite official yet. And so if you wanted to be part of me developing this leadership program, you can come in as a founding member. It'll be $10 a month. So you will get to grow, you will get to thrive. It's gonna be awesome. All you have to do is just type in, you can type thrive in the comments, and I will get back with you with the information you need. If you are a leader who wants to get better, I'm here to help. All right. So with that, let me take a look. We got people here. Carol is here. Welcome. I know Lisa is here. Jewaun, we've got some great people who are going to love to meet you. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our special guest tonight. Tonight we have Jewaun Glenn. He is a pastor. He's the pastor of Antioch, Detroit, which is a church plant in the city, right? In the city of Detroit. And I know Jewaun because probably 4 or 5 years ago now, right? I was working, doing some leadership development, some coaching at the post office where Jewaun carries mail. Jewaun is a, what do they call it? It is a bi-vocational pastor. So you pastor and you also have a day job, right? And so Jewaun shone like a bright light at that post office. You shone like a bright light, Jewaun, and I've never forgotten it. You clearly were able to take a lot of heat. literal and figurative. You had been a temporary newbie forever, and we're just counting the days till you got to be in the postal service, what we call a regular, and finally made it, right?
Yes.
Finally made it.
Literally.
And now you not only carry mail, but you're starting a church. And I am looking so forward to hearing what you have to say about this topic of find the beauty. So without further ado, take it away, Jewaun.
Yeah. I just want to first of all say I'm very thankful for being here, just to be on this platform and to, I think, speak. For me, I would say speak faith. If you're not a person of faith, it's just really speaking positively about everything that's going on, and really, you said finding beauty and what could appear to be ruins or ashes. A lot's happened in the country. Three major things that I think is important for us to really take note of, and obviously the first one being what happened with COVID-19,
Sure.
the pandemic, and just the many lives that were lost because of the pandemic. But it doesn't really end there, right? You have many things being shut down, so you got mom and pop shops and people who are business owners who are out of work. And you kind of add another layer to that with unemployment, and how we're reaching a point where unemployment for many people is running out, unfortunately. And the pressure is building, right? And to think, okay, this is insane. Like, it really can't get any worse than this. We're really kind of at the limit of what, as a country, we can take as it relates to sickness and death and financial trouble. And then the unfortunate cherry on top being the recent racial polarizing events that have taken over the country. And it's just, it really just takes two punches to knock someone out, but it's like we got three. And recovery is it's something that we're all hoping that we can see, but it's really looking bleak in many ways. And
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the beauty in a second, but just really want to frame, I think, and you understand this too, Shannon, just kind of really framing everything that's happened. And here's what's the craziest thing about it as well, is that in the midst of this, you notice a lot of individuals kind of pop up on social media with a lot of things they want to say. Everybody's a preacher. Everybody's a medical expert. All of a sudden, everybody knows how to cure racism. I mean, boom, overnight, everyone is just, they've got it figured out, right, in many ways. And there's multiple voices coming, and there are many people who just want to do what's best for others, and they don't really know what to do. They're kind of being pulled this way, they're being pulled that way. And the country is in a very, I won't even say hostile, just very volatile state right now. And I think for many people, the question of finding beauty in the midst of tragedy, in the midst of great change that's happening in our country, seems like an impossibility. But it's funny, when the Ahmaud Arbery situation first took place in Georgia, I was talking to my team at my church, and one of the things I really felt led to share with them was that regardless of what we see in our environment, it does not stop us from speaking faith.
Right.
Regardless of what happened. And what's interesting, in light of everything that's happening, people aren't afraid to talk about prayer. You see people saying, pray for the country and pray for this person and pray for that. And a lot of that, I know, is nuance. And yeah, absolutely right. A lot of that is nuance too. Some people, it just seems like the nice thing to say. It's like when you sneeze and someone says, God bless you, whether they know God or not. It's just a nice thing to say. But I feel like more people now are looking upward than they ever have before. And we know historically, tragedy has a habit of making people realize their mortality, and allow them to really realize and understand how short life is, and really how important is the life after this.
Right.
So, I can kind of go further. I don't know if you want to tag on a few things or not, but
Yeah, let me tag on a few things. The first one is, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying, yeah, things are ugly. Hope for the best.
uh, I
Clarify that for us, right? It's like, yeah, I know it's terrible, but you know what? You can still say good stuff.
yeah.
Help me understand that a little more. Help everybody watching understand that just a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's important is, and you kind of shared this before, we don't want to be gullible. We don't want to be ignorant of things that are happening and just go, hey, it's not a big deal. People aren't really hurting. Let's just move on, and just go to the next stage. I think, especially, I'm going to speak for me as a pastor. I know, again, there are people here who are not Christian. So, again, but just, I think you'll be able to hear where I'm coming from in this. As a pastor, and really just titles aside, whatever, as somebody who is a follower of Christ, it's important for me. People are watching to see if I'm being intentional. They're in pain if I'm actually present in the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm just trying to get done with the meeting. And it's so funny. We can sense that when we're talking to people, therapists and so on and whatnot. We know immediately if they're there if they're checking their watch, or if they're really even concerned or really even present in the moment of what's going on. And I think it's important as a country, we take full blast everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Everything that's happening, from the virus all the way to the racial reconciliation this country desperately needs.
Yeah.
So I want to make that clear, that I don't think this is a time to minimize anyone's pain or minimize the scars that are being revealed in this country. What I will say is, for me, as a believer, right, that's a term we use as a believer in God, I know that the world that I'm living in right now will never be perfect.
Okay.
It's not possible. It's not. Human beings don't have the ability to. There's a limitation that we have, and we can only control certain things. But honestly, we're not really controlling anything. Most things are out of our hands, of our ability to change. Right? We're just kind of going along with the flow and adjusting to changes that are being made for us, and everybody's experiencing that right now. But yeah. I know that my hope isn't in my government.
Right.
My hope isn't in necessarily my spouse. My hope isn't in my children. My hope isn't in my supervisor. And I love all of them. I love my government. I pray for my government, as crazy as they are. I pray for my government. I think it's important to do that. I pray for my supervisors, my leaders, my governors, so on and whatnot. But my hope is not in them. My hope is in God. And there's a cool passage that says that God doesn't change, that he's the same today, tomorrow, and forever, and that he knows everything. So even though these things have hit me like a ton of bricks and have hit many people in their pockets, and just started back to work full time last week, and I'll share more about that later, but that's been a blessing that she's had the opportunity to be home with my newborn for as long as she has been. But my hope is in God. And
all right, so when things are bleak, things seem chaotic, what you're saying is that somewhere we've got to find something that doesn't move.
Absolutely.
What is not moving? And that can be for a believer, and I'm a Christian. So that for me is Christ. It's that rock that doesn't move. And that's love. God is love. So to me, when I'm looking at everything you're talking about and just kind of referencing, it's all pointing for me to there's love here, even if you don't see it. And we can have faith in that because that's what we choose to put our trust in. That God's love, he's there. So there's always beauty because love's beautiful, right? So that's what I'm hearing. Does that sound, is it making sense to you how I'm taking it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would totally agree that Christ is the first unmoved mover, if you will. He is the beginning of all of this, and he will be the end of it. And I think it's like you said, it's important to put our trust in him. It's one of these things where, and this is something that I've just been kind of thinking about more and more, that tomorrow's not promised. I
No.
set plans up all day long and go, this is what my 5-year, I mean, we do this, right? And it's the work. I hate these questions. Everybody hates them, and yet we're forced to answer them all the time. What's your 3-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? Anybody who had a 1-year plan, they've thrown it out the window because we have, tossed that all over the place, right?
Pastor Jewaun, you and I are going to have a meeting, my friend, because I am all about the plan.
Again, hear me out. I'm not against it. I'm just saying we make plans, and hear me out. Obviously, we want to be a good steward. We want to make sure that we are, stewarding our lives, our finances, and not just, being pulled along by this or that. There is important for us to have a plan. But I'm sure many people's plans, we'll just say, have been shaken up as recent. But just looking at the beauty of a lot of things that have happened, a lot of our abilities, as Americans, we have a lot of toys, a lot of things that we can go to have fun, places to travel. And I feel like the pandemic has really forced many of us to connect on a more personal level. With me being a church plant, we can't really meet in person as often as I would like, really at all, unless it's an outdoor type of situation. And yet, because of everything that's happened, I feel more close now to my members just through Zoom and connecting with them on a more consistent basis than I have ever since the conception of our church.
So specifically beautiful, you've seen relationships blossom. That's part of what you've been doing, right? I mean, so your mission is being furthered.
Absolutely.
So your plans to plant a church, when they made those limits on them, Jewaun, were you thinking like, oh yeah, they're not going to let us gather in our places anymore? This is awesome. Did you think that at first?
No, I was actually more distraught, believe it or not. I know, crazy to think that I was a little saddened by that.
Sure.
We have thousands of dollars worth of equipment in this little chapel. We got things set up and lights, and microphones, and I mean, really to give people a wonderful experience to help them better connect with Christ, right? And now all of that is locked up in a church somewhere where we have no access to it.
Right.
And again, it's one of those things where you make plans and you have to change, right? Yeah. But you mentioned something about relationships, and I feel like I'm just being candid with you. I think a lot of times for pastors, leaders, anybody that's in leadership, it's difficult for them to have genuine, intentional relationships with people that are in their community. And we see that unfortunately a lot with pastors as well, that they get to a certain size or a certain status and they're kind of unreachable, and you want to have a connection. You want to be able to talk and glean from them in many ways, but you can't. And now, because of everything that's happened, it's paused everything. It slowed everything down. And people don't really care about pausing or slowing things down until they're close to dying. That's when they're like, hey, everything slows down. Let's meet together. And I feel like the beauty of what's happened in the current climate that we have now, it's allowing people to really take seriously each minute and second of the day instead of just treating life as 1 week, 1 month. We'll see you in a month. No, it's like, no, each individual day is something to be recognized. And even as it relates to relationships, one of the biggest, and I would say most beautiful things that have come out of everything that's happened with race and with specifically race is I work in Ann Arbor. Okay. It's a predominantly white area, and which is not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. I love my customers and I enjoy doing my job. And I say enjoy, with quotations. Everybody who works at the post office knows post office is not easy, but I enjoy my customers. And I can tell you for the 5 to 6 years I've been at the post office, in the past, I mean this, Shannon, in the past 4 to 5 months, I've had more opportunities to have deep conversations, hard conversations with customers than I ever have in the history that I've been in the post office. And that's not just me. That's other African Americans that have worked in our area.
Oh, my word.
Who are coming up to us and going, I see what's happening on CNN. I see what's happening on Fox. I see what they're saying, this and that. How are you taking this? And it's allowed me the opportunity to look people in their face, people who I just say, hey, have a good day. Yeah, I'm doing well. Stay dry out there. The usual, flowery talk that we give each other, shooting the breeze kind of conversations. And now things have gotten much deeper. And I can look people and say, look, when it comes down to racism, I can honestly tell you that only God can change a person's heart. And we can change regulations. We can change the school system. We can add more after-school programs. We can watch Remember the Titans until we're blue in the face, okay? Nothing wrong with it. These are all good and awesome things. But ultimately, the things that we're seeing in this country, the pain that's here, it's a heart issue. And the only one who has the power to truly change a person from the inside out is God. And I would have never had those beautiful conversations if it had not been for recent events that have taken place.
Wow. Pointing people toward love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toward love. The only thing that's going to change us. It's the only thing. I love hearing that your customers, your white customers, that many of them have approached you and opened up the conversation. That is truly beautiful.
It is.
Truly beautiful.
It is.
Have there been any less beautiful interactions since all of this upheaval and unrest has happened?
Absolutely. Even though I know we're talking about beauty, I know there are negative things that, obviously the list can go on about the negative things that have happened. But one of the things I'll say is, and this is not to isolate any particular community, but one of the things that I've seen, I can speak for this as an African American, that many people in my community, there is a lot of hurt, a lot of anger. And I believe in the process of us trying to see change, what happens often is that people, I want to make sure I'm very careful with my wording. I feel like people are forgetting the power and the importance of love and unity.
Okay.
Instead of taking a more Martin Luther King approach to the change that I believe needs to happen in this country, people are taking more of a Malcolm X approach.
Okay.
And I think Malcolm X definitely had some good things to say and some good things to share. But his approach, being different than Martin Luther King, was a more, I would say, aggressive one. And one that was tilting to more of not dialogue, but more just kind of action, really getting things done by any means necessary. And I feel like that's a danger that many of us fall in. We've seen statues being torn down. We recently had a civil rights leader, and I say civil rights leader. I won't say leader, a guy in the racial discussion, his name is Jewaun King, who was calling for not just statues that may have been connected to different people of troubling backgrounds, but he said, let's just start tearing down statues of Jesus as well while we're at it. And I've noticed that, and again, I can speak from this from a biblical standpoint as a pastor, which is what I should, is that God is calling us to unity. I'm a Black pastor, and 90% of my church is Caucasian, and I'm in Detroit. I'm all, it's just the whole thing doesn't work. It's a crazy thing the way God has really kind of blessed it and put it together. But it's called us to unity. And when we look at the things that Martin Luther King said, he made it very clear of us not judging people by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And his vision, which I believe was a God-led vision, a vision of love, was to see people treated equally, not necessarily a superiority for this or that. And I've just seen in the process a lot of the pain that people are going through. And again, this is all trickled down from people being out of work and just having more opportunity to look at the news. And the news don't have anything good to say. They don't get paid for telling you good things. Not saying the news is bad, but you're not going to click on an article, right? And that's how they stay. That's their job security. And I've just noticed a lot of pain and hurt that's happened from the Black community. In some cases, not all, has turned into anger, has turned into a place of disunity. And I think that is very troubling, because we want to partner with any and everybody who has the same vision for a unified group of people who can work with one another, love one another, and continually move forward. So I can go deeper into it, but I don't know, how much time we have there. But I think that's one of the troubling things that I've seen with that. And the last thing I'll say quickly is another troubling thing, and I slightly mentioned this earlier. There are a multitude of voices on social media. And I really feel a lot of times for my white friends and my white brothers and sisters. I mean, my in-laws are Caucasian, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law. So my family is just kind of all different things. And I just really feel for many of them because in everything that's happening, there's so many voices telling you to do this, or you're not doing enough, or you're doing too much, right? And you're just like, well, what do I do? I mean, do I post something on Facebook? Do I put Black Lives Matter? Do I change my shirt? I mean, like what? And there's this struggle and pull, and it's nobody's really listening to God or really listening to wisdom, or even taking the time to look at history to see things that have been successful in the quest for racial reconciliation. And they're just being pulled by every platform, everyone who has a Facebook post, an Instagram post, a Twitter post. This celebrity has this to say, this guy next door says this, and it's just, when there's a bunch of noise, a bunch of voices, really nobody's saying anything. And I think it's important that we are wise in removing the noise and really focusing and isolating ourselves on voices that are going to cause us, like I said before, to unify, to show grace, to show love, and at the same time, not ignore when we see injustice. So that's a mouthful, but I think you kind of get the general idea of what I feel about that.
No, it is a mouthful, but I like how you said it, that we can look for the unity. We can listen to the voices who are calling for that, who are speaking for that common ground, and also acknowledge when things aren't right. Those things can happen at the same time. Everything you're describing, Jewaun, it just really resonates with me, because the darker the night, the brighter the light. That's how we know something's good, right? Because it isn't bad. So the upheaval that we're experiencing, that you're talking about, the beauty was created because of it. The conversations that you're having with people that you've never had before, the opportunities to connect with your congregation in a real, genuine, and truly meaningful way, that beauty would not be present without the negative. I love that. And I guess when we see the chaos, we need to look for the bright light, because it's somewhere, right? It's somewhere, because that's God's promise. For one, God says, the darker the night, the brighter the light.
And it actually reminds me, again, and forgive me, I don't know your audience that well.
You are who you are. You're a pastor. You speak for you.
I don't want them to feel like I'm to them and things like that. I know people have strong opinions about religion and God, and I get that. I used to be a skeptic, so I get it. I understand. I can't help but to say that a lot of this does remind me of the historical person that is Jesus. And I look at that and I go, here's an individual who was beaten and battered. Historically, we can know this to be true. Beaten and battered beyond recognition. He's on a Roman crucifix, unclothed, physically unrecognizable. And you look at this situation and go, this person is defeated. This is horrible. There's a storm going. There's an earthquake happening at the same time. And you go, this is awful. Like, this is the word. And not just from the reader, we can see that the people who followed him ran away.
Yeah.
And they thought, this is the worst of the worst. This guy who's been doing so much good in this area, that has been pouring out so much love, that has been healing people and talking to groups of people that Jewish people wouldn't have talked to in that time, has been defeated on a cross, right? Yeah. And then as you continually read forward, it says that, and 3 days later, the same, what many thought was a mere man, rose again. Yeah. And it was that this moment of when we had assumed death was victorious, right? That this was it, and yet out of a dark, gloomy tomb came grace, salvation, truth, and most importantly, hope. Wow. And I think that's something that no matter what happens in this nation, it cannot be stolen from us, no matter who you are or what background you're from. No one is allowed to take your hope. That goes even deeper to what we see with the Atlantic slave trade, with African Americans, who many of them were slaves to white pastors. Yeah. And even in the midst of the confusion of what you would think are religious leaders that are keeping these people enslaved, and I say pastors again with quotations, right? But many people of African descent, and regardless of the perversion of truth, the perversion of justice and injustice that was placed upon them, some of the most beautiful songs have come out of that. Yeah. That have drawn people to faith and to hope. And of course, one of the most famous ones is that "We Shall Overcome." And these songs are birthed out of environments and situations that are absolutely hopeless.
Right.
And I think that you would agree with that, Shannon, that some of the most beautiful, I mean, for those who love different musicians, some of the most beautiful songs, some of the most beautiful circumstances have come from the most least likely of situations. So, darkness cannot swallow light.
No,
it can't. And I think it's imperative that we continue to do that. I'm a father now, right? I got a 7-month-old, and he doesn't know all the nuance of everything that's going on. He doesn't understand the details and this group of people against this group of people, or this virus versus that virus, and he doesn't know all this. And if you have a hopeless mindset, if you have a hopeless lifestyle, then you really have no point of living. At least that's how you would feel. You would feel like, well, there's no point in me going on.
Right.
As a father, especially as an African American father, my son needs me. So me having hope is not an option. I can't throw in the towel because my son is counting on me, just like I was counting on my father, who had to work 2 and 3 jobs to make sure I was able to get to where I was now. The same way my father counted on Martin Luther King to not lose hope in his pursuit for truth and righteousness in the nation. And I think one thing that we can see, the most beautiful thing that's come about in all of this, is that hope is still there.
It's still there. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Jewaun. Carol wrote this, and I just think this is so beautiful. She says, we've been praying the speech given by Martin Luther King in Detroit on June 23rd, 1963, I Have a Dream. It has helped us, those words in the spirit in which he said it. And you can see their picture there. That's Carol and Gary Cook. And Gary carried mail in Trenton, Michigan for 40 years and also pastors a church. What a beautiful thing, and to know that the hope is still alive. I mean, that's the true beauty, right? The beauty lies in the hope that there's love here. We can find it if we look for it, and to rally around the unity.
There's a quote by C.S. Lewis, very profound writer, and this is very profound. I mean, I'm sure for those who may know who C.S. Lewis is, who are not from a faith background, would know him for his books on the Chronicle of Narnia. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of faith-related things he kind of intertwined in there. But in his earlier life, C.S. Lewis was not a person of faith or really of hope or anything of that nature, and he was a skeptic, very similar to me. And one of the things that was very troubling for him was that with all the pain and heartache in the world, he kind of said, well, there can't be any hope. There can't be any hope beyond this. There can't be a God if there's so much pain and cancer and death and killings and police shootings, and the list goes on, right? You can fill in the blank. And he But him being as wise as he was, came to a conclusion that, this is what he said. He said, how can you tell a line is crooked unless you know what a straight line looks like? Mm-hmm. And that may seem kind of cryptic on the surface, but essentially what he is saying, that the very fact that I can realize that this world is crooked, that it's at a tilt, is pointing me to know that there's something that needs to be straight. There's something beyond this. If there's something in me that go, wait a minute, this isn't right, then there must be something beyond this that I know is right. A standard, a moral standard that goes beyond what we have put into place. And it was that very thinking and thought that propelled him to his belief in Christ and his belief in God. And I just think it's important that, again, when we see things that just seem crooked, for every darkness, for every negative thing, there is something on the opposite end of that. Our very world is kind of built on those, magnetic poles, if you will.
Yeah.
We want to, I would say, speaking for me and speaking for my family, like you were saying earlier, Shannon, I want to keep pressing towards unity.
Yeah.
I want to re-fortify my relationships with people more now than I ever have before. I don't want to take advantage of that because I don't know what the next ruling is going to come from the higher ups, right? We don't know what the next phase is going to look like for our nation and for our country. And I don't have time to be angry or bitter at anybody. I don't have time to have any burned bridges. I don't have any time to have unforgiveness in my heart because somebody doesn't look like me or they remind me of a past abuser, whether that person be white or black. I don't. Life is too short, and we're being reminded of that now for me to not pursue something that is, like you said, unmovable, unshakable. And one last point to that, I think it's important. I think it's a good exercise for people as well, is that I can make a list of all the negative things that have happened this year. Mm-hmm. I can make a list of all the negative things that have happened in my short, and I say this, my little tiny short 30 years that I've been here, right? I can make a pretty large list of things that didn't go right. But you know what I'll never run out of? I'll never run out of things to say that have happened that are good. I can always say I woke up this morning. I can always say I can move my fingers. I can move my hands. I still get all my teeth, at least for the time being, right? Yeah. I can never run out of saying good things because they're unending. When you begin to look at, wow, I'm in this home, I'm in this house, I'm in this country where I have the freedom to express faith and love. I have a wife, I have a son, I have people that love me. The list is never ending. And we always have an opportunity to continually point to the good things that God has done in our lives and the good things that have been presented in our lives in this country. So I just think it's important to always focus on that, not ignoring pain, not ignoring.
They're both real.
Right. They're both there, and we can have a balance in those two things.
Yeah, because it's not true to just see the bad. That's only half of the picture. That means we're ignoring the good, and vice versa. We can see them both, but where our focus goes, we go.
Yeah.
Where our focus goes, our energy flows. Where our focus goes, we go. And so we get to choose to find the beauty. And as we do that, we are drawn into beauty. Mm-hmm. Drawn into beauty with the other people who are all going toward that beauty. And there's unity there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Beautiful. I want to invite anybody who's watching, if you've got some questions or comments, I'd love for you to type them on there. Jewaun, if you have a minute, if somebody has a question for you, he said he'll hang out and answer some questions, or even if you just want to make a comment or an observation, this is a great place to do that. You can just type your comment in and we'll show your picture. Hopefully you have a good Facebook profile there.
Yeah. And I would say this too, if you do have a question or a comment, you don't have to be shy about it. If it's something more heavier, or it may even appear to be controversial or something like that, I won't bite anybody, I promise. Feel free to kind of, whatever you want to ask or express, or maybe just kind of express how things have affected you so far. Yeah,
Yeah. Where have you guys found the beauty? I know for me, Jewaun, a lot of the beauty that I found has been in the relationships.
Mhm.
Some of the beauty that I found has been that I experienced fear that I didn't know I had
Mhm.
and had to go, oh my word, my my world's being rocked a little bit here. What's going on? But it was an opportunity for me to explore that. What is it? What's going on? And so I became a little bit more aware of some of the things that have been dragging me down, not just during COVID.
Mhm.
Those were fears and uncertainties that I had before it hit. It just shined a light on them. So that's been one of my great takeaways. Carol says this, thank you for the open conversation. Your words have helped us tremendously. And I agree, Jewaun. Thank you. Thank you for sharing from your heart
Thank you.
so articulately. Jewaun, where can people find you?
Yeah. Well, my name is here. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. My church is called Antioch Detroit Church. I know it's kind of a tricky name, but if you find me on Facebook and add me and DM me or send me a message, I'll give you all the details. We meet outdoors right here on my lovely porch, and we have been continually going forward with being involved in our community and giving out groceries. So if you ever want to stop by, if you're in the Detroit area, and you're like, man, I need some Jesus and I need some food. This is a great place for you to come and do that. But yeah, that's one of the ways you can find me. And again, if there's something that is said today that is creating deeper questions for you, and maybe there aren't. Again, I don't want to prop myself up in any way. So I say this humbly. Maybe you don't have many African American friends or brothers or sisters to talk to and really kind of work through a lot of everything that's going on, and you want a balanced answer to some things. Not that I have the answers. I can only tell you so much, but you want to be able to kind of ask some more heartfelt things or maybe some more tricky things. I'm totally available to talk and love on you and give you my point of view and express to you what I feel is important as it relates to us continually staying unified in the midst of our pursuit for seeing justice and righteousness. So, yeah, I'm always available, and I really do mean that. Especially with all the hours I'm working at the post office, I got plenty of time out there on the route to talk to anybody who wants to express their heart.
Awesome. Well, Jewaun, thank you again for being with us on Sunday Night Live. You've been just a blessing. Really appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you more as things come up, and I'm sure they will. We'll have you back and maybe talk about some things that maybe when things are a little calmer, right? And then we'll do some debriefs, like what did we learn? What's our takeaway? Aren't we glad that's behind us? That kind of stuff. Can't wait for that. All right. With that, we're going to wrap up. God bless you all. Thanks for hanging with us. I love you and I appreciate you being here. God bless you all. Mwah. Bye.